up, Shadowhunters, Angels, and Darkmothers alike, and welcome to my fair and unbiased for episode 14 of Shadowhunters Season 2, The Fair Folk. Please excuse my voice. I have been sick since Tuesday evening, and I don't mean like a bit poorly, I mean like proper fucking like sick. But since I might be moving soon, I didn't want to miss this upload in case I won't be able to post for the next few weeks. I'm hoping it will be. I don't see why it should interfere with my uploading schedule, but nothing's ever set in stone, so who knows. But so yeah, I sound awful, I know, okay? I'm making this video with an aching throat, don't blame me, I'm sorry. Okay? Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about the episode. Alec is head of the Institute now, and his first act as the head of the Institute is to try and improve Shadowhunter and Darkmother bonds. And as the first act as the head of the Institute, I think that's a pretty fucking awesome first, like, job? Is that the right word? First course of action. His first course of action is to improve Shadowhunter and Darkmothers relations. And as I predicted last week, the Shadowhunters are already beginning to have a problem with his authority. I'm not necessarily sure if it's because of his sexuality, like I predicted. It's more because of his relationship with Magnus that people seem to be having the problem, like, oh, he's only trying to improve relations because he has a warlock boyfriend kind of thing. But it's still in the same sort of realm. People are having a problem with him being in charge, and they're having a problem with his priorities. This led on to Alec. I don't necessarily know if he heard the Shadowhunters talking about him or if Isabel later relayed it to him what they were saying, but whatever the reason was, Alec told Magnus that he didn't want their relationship to kind of get in the way of the Darkmother Council meeting with the Shadowhunters. This at first seemed like quite a cold kind of thing to say, but when you think about it more, it makes sense. If Alec and Magnus were kind of being coupley and all up in each other's private space, being all touchy and stuff, and just not exactly being gross for public viewing kind of thing, but showing PDA and stuff like that, it wouldn't help the kind of idea that the only reason Alec wants to do this is because he's in a relationship with a Darkmother. I personally think it was better that they decided to stay professional with during the meeting, and they weren't I don't know the right word. They weren't being intimate with each other, and they weren't using pet names. They weren't touching. They were being fully professional with each other, and it worked. And I think that it's actually very clever, because not only does it show that not everything has to be about Alec and Magnus can have their separate roles in this world, in this society, but it even shows that when they're together, it doesn't have to be all about them being romantic and being intimate, showing PDA and stuff like that. They can still be their separate characters even when they're together with their separate roles. Magnus was there as the High Warlock of Brooklyn. Alec was there as the head of the New York Institute. It was great. It showed that they both have their own important roles. They both have their jobs. They both have their own personal jobs in the Shadow World, and this is something that I've been advocating for since season 1. It's very important to have them separate from each other and have their own separate stories and plots and jobs to show that it's not just them there as the token gay characters to say, oh, we have gay characters, there they are making out in the corner. We can't see that because they barely made out, they just kiss anyway, so it's not like they're shoving it in our faces anyway, going like, look, token gay characters. They have their own plots and their own stories and their own past and histories and their own storylines, so it's all very important to normalizing gay characters in media, to have them like this. Not everything has to be about them being together, because really in reality nothing is all about being in a relationship, although someone needs to inform Cassandra Clare of that because her books would say otherwise. But I'm glad Shadowhunters is going in a different way and giving them different things to do and different roles, and they're important roles. Alec is leading the New York Institute, and Magnus is the High Warlock of Brooklyn. They're not just having these small roles, they're having these big, important roles in the Shadow World that hinge a lot of things that go on between the Darkmolders and the Shadowhunters. It's very important, these jobs that they have, and it shows that not only do they have their own stories and their own jobs, but they have important roles and important jobs, and people in the LGBT community can have important roles in society. They're not just small people at the bottom of the chain, they can be big, important people at the top. And I hope they further address the problems you can have with this and the advantages that this will cause. And I just think that they're working with this plot really well, and I think that the more they're progressing with it, the better it's getting. So I really like how it represented Alec and Magnus during the meeting. I love that one of Alec's first things that he decided to do was have this meeting, because it's very important to improve Shadowhunter and Darkmolder relationships, especially after what happened with the Soul Sword. Whether it be an accident or not, a lot of people were killed, and it's very important that they establish that no ill harm was meant by it. It was an accident, and they want to try and make things better. So that, I loved it. I think it's great. I really enjoy the politics. Even though I'm not a politician, I really enjoy the politics between the Shadowhunters and the Darkmolders, and I adore that we're getting to see more of that, because I think it's a very important theme for the series, and the way that they're fleshing it out and addressing it, I'm really enjoying it. Luke is set up by Sebastian to kill Valentine, and it was obvious that Luke was the most likely target for such a trap, because he is most affected. He's the Darkmolder that's been the most affected by Valentine. Valentine killed Jocelyn, the woman that Luke loves, and he massacred a lot of Luke's pack members. And because of all of that, his pack is now turning against him. So a lot of stuff has happened to Luke as a direct effect of Valentine's actions. So Luke was obviously the most likely target for Sebastian's plot. And we don't know Sebastian until the end, but I don't know who I thought it was, but I don't know why I didn't think that they were going to reveal that Sebastian was a bad guy just yet, but they did. I didn't know that they were going to do that. I thought they were going to wait a bit longer, but no, it was Sebastian, but we weren't aware of this until the end. And I don't blame Luke for trying to kill Valentine, because, most of us would probably do the same thing if we were given the opportunity, especially if they killed people that we loved so often and got betrayed. Valentine was Luke's power batai, and he turned on him the instant he was turned into a werewolf. Even though it was Valentine's fault he was turned into a werewolf, he still turned on him the second he turned into a werewolf. And I think Valentine did that because he suspected Jocelyn would do the same thing, but of course she didn't, because she's not racist. Valentine seemed to think that everyone was a racist, and then when he found out that people weren't racist, he was just like, what? And you're like, yeah, Valentine, not all of your little minions were in this to be racists. It's only you, pal. But yeah, I think that Valentine thought that when Luke turned into a werewolf, Jocelyn wouldn't want him anymore, but of course, obviously, that's not the case. And they fell in love, and she died as a result of Valentine's actions. So, not only that, as I've said, a lot of pack members were killed by the Soul Sword, and now Luke's pack is turning against him because of that. So Alec promised that he would push for Valentine's execution, probably because of everything that he's done, added on top of what he did to Magnus. Alec probably wants him dead too, but they can't just go and kill him, because that's just bad. Like, you sort of need to work your way through the legal system. It's like finding out that someone killed your mother or something like that. Someone killed your mother, and then you break into their house and kill them. You're gonna get arrested for murder, and they're gonna be dead, but you're gonna be in prison. So where's the justice? It's better to work through the legal system, and that's what Alec was trying to say. He said that I'll push for the execution as much as I can, but we can't just go and murder him. But obviously Luke was blinded by emotion, and when he was given the opening, he went to try and do it. But the interesting thing is that Sebastian was the one who reported to Alec that Luke was missing. So it pretty much shows that Sebastian wanted Luke to get caught, and he obviously wanted Luke to get the blame for trying to murder Valentine. Why exactly that is, I'm not entirely sure. I think it may have been because one of my theories is that I think Sebastian wanted to ruin the meeting between the Shadowhunters and the Downworlders. Because the more you learn about Sebastian and his... I can say it now because it's pretty much been exposed at the end of this episode. The more you learn about Sebastian and his evilness, him and Valentine aren't that unlike each other. So, unlike, is that even a word? Who cares? You know what I mean. They aren't unlike each other. Unlike, that's it. They aren't unlike each other. They have similar views, let's just say, without giving too much away. So my theory is that he tried to ruin Alec's meeting so that the Downworlders will continue not to trust the Shadowhunters, and the Shadowhunters would have to continue to take extreme action against the Downworlders. Because if Luke had have killed Valentine, then Alec would have had no choice but to arrest him. As the head of the Institute, it would have been a Downworlder murdering a Shadowhunter, and Alec would have had no choice but to arrest him, because it's murder. No matter what way you spin it, it's still murder. So Alec would have had to arrest Luke, and then that would have looked really bad to the Downworlders at the meeting. Probably not Magnus, but to the other two, because it's Shadowhunters taking action against the Downworlders again. So I think Sebastian did this because he wanted to ruin the meeting between the Shadowhunters and the Downworlders and try and make it go pear-shaped, basically, so that it wouldn't work and the bonds would still be a bit weak and there would be no way of fixing it. But Alec refuses to arrest Luke, and this is some of the most obvious character development that I have noticed in this show. Because comparing to Season 1, Episode 9, when Alec was willing to escort Meliorn personally to the City of Bones out of feeling forced by his duty, it's a massive development from then to now, where he knows and understands why Luke did this and why he acted this way. He tries to understand instead of just throwing him into prison for the sake of following Clave rules. He is, from Episode 9, Season 1, to Episode 14, Season 2, Alec has grown so much as a character to begin to recognise the Downworlders as people. Not that I didn't think that Alec thought that the Downworlders weren't people, but he had more of a sense of duty than he did understanding that the Downworlders were like them. He was enslaved by his duty to the Clave, let's just say. And it's a massive jump in improvement, character development, whatever you want to call it. It's massive character development from then to now, because he could have so easily just arrested Luke anyway. He could have understood what Luke had done, but still went, well, Clave authority says you have to be arrested. But he didn't, because he's improved. Even his relationship with Magnus has probably helped his view on these things. He doesn't just blindly follow Clave orders anymore. He thinks about it a bit more. He doesn't necessarily break Clave rules, but he is starting to question them more. And as head of the Institute, he is going to be able to make a lot of important calls in terms of arresting Downworlders, how they treat Downworlders, how they act around Downworlders. He is now going to have a much more important role in how they go about these things and how they treat everyone in the Shadow World. And Alec, I think, is going to have a very positive kind of effect on everyone if they choose to accept this. As I say, this could become a problem with the Shadowhunters because they clearly do not like this idea of trying to improve bonds between Shadowhunters and Downworlders, as we saw when the two assholes in the crowd were gossiping about the fact that it was probably Alec doing this because he is in a relationship with a warlock. But I'm not going to talk about those assholes too much. But it's definitely a great expression of character development, and it's just beautiful that our little baby Alec is taking his first steps towards being a decent human being, and it's just nice to see. I like seeing character development. I love character development because in Episode 9 of Season 1, what Alec did was wrong, and I've said this a lot. I say this every single time. I do not care about characters doing bad things, as long as they're acknowledged as bad things and they develop from that and improve, or even apologise. I forgot to mention that Isabel apologised for what she did to Raphael's sister. There, that's it sorted. I'm not angry anymore. She apologised. If shitty behaviour is recognised as shitty and characters acknowledge that what they did was bad and shitty, then it's character development. They've learned from what they've done. It's good. It's a problem I had with the books, because everyone was just being shitty and no one was being called out on it, and it was just continuing on as if there was nothing wrong with it. And that's not how characters are supposed to work. You're supposed to have them improve themselves and grow throughout your series or your book or whatever it is that you're writing. Shitty behaviour has to be recognised as shitty, and if it's not recognised as shitty, then they're a villain. They're a bad guy. It's just how it is. They're not a good person if they don't either learn from it, apologise. If they think that being shitty is a good thing, then they're obviously not a good person. And if they don't recognise what they've done as a bad thing, then they either have to be an antagonist or there has to be something wrong with them, because you can't let bad things be done by characters and not have it being acknowledged as bad. You know what I mean? Character development's good. Have characters do bad things and learn from it. It's how characters improve and develop. It's good. And I really like that Shadowhunters is showing character development, because it shows that even though you've done something shitty in the past, you can learn from it and better yourself for the next time. And the next time was when Alec was presented with the option to arrest Luke or let him go. And he let him go because he learned from what happened with Meliorn. He's been dating Magnus. He's been seeing more of the Darkworld. He knows how the Clave is corrupt now, especially when they were trying to track everyone. He knows now, and he's learned. This is good character development, and I love that the show is doing this, and I can't wait to see more of it. I can't wait to see if they improve Clary. If they show that Clary's done some shitty stuff, that would be absolutely fantastic. I would applaud them for that, because, you know what, Clary needs to acknowledge that some of the stuff she has done is pretty fucking shitty. Sebastian is evil! Sebastian is evil, yes. I'm pretty sure most of the people who watch me have read the books, but I didn't want to reveal it because obviously that's bad. I didn't want to reveal that Sebastian was the bad guy because it would be major spoilers. But yes, Sebastian is not a good guy. No, he is not. I'm not going to give away much of what he does in the books, but we have seen at the end of the episode that he was the one who tricked Luke into trying to kill Valentine. And let's just say Valentine pretending not to know who Sebastian was. Once you find out how they're related to each other, that must have really fucking stung. As soon as that happened in the episode, when he was just like, "Who are you?" I was like, oh, burn. It's like, how does that feel, Sebastian? Bet that stings a bit. But yeah, Sebastian tried to trick Luke into killing Valentine, in my opinion, to ruin the Darkworlder meeting. And we see at the end of the episode that he has also taken someone prisoner. He has someone in his room. And I wonder if he was there when Isabel was there. Just imagine, like, just the whole time there was someone in the next room. But I spent I tried to, like, I was sitting watching it, like, who is that? Because I thought it was someone that we were supposed to have known. When the guy was tied up in the room, I was sitting looking at it, like, who is that? Like, am I supposed to know who that is? No, it turns out it's some randomer. It's some random person, and I was spending, like, 5 to 10 minutes just staring at the screen trying to figure out who it was that Sebastian had kidnapped. But no, apparently it's someone we're not supposed to know who they are. So there's a lot of theories going around, the main theory being that that's the real Sebastian in the closet, and Sebastian has taken his identity, moved to New York to pretend to be this guy and saying, oh yeah, I'm Sebastian, because no one will know what this Sebastian guy looks like in New York. So he's just like, oh yes, I'm Sebastian from the London Institute, when he's really not. The people think that the guy in the closet is actually the real Sebastian. So it'll be interesting to find out who that is, if that's right, and where Sebastian is going with this, because this is a lot different from how the book's direction took Sebastian. Thank God. And yeah, I'm really intrigued to see where they're planning to go with Sebastian's character, because a lot of things could go wrong with Sebastian's character, especially from how it's portrayed in the books, especially his relationship with Clary. But a lot of things could go right too if it's done properly. So yeah, I'm very interested to see how they're planning to move forward with this. So next week there won't be an episode of Shadowhunters because, as I explained in First Thoughts, 4th of July. I'm assuming it's because they want to try and get high ratings and no one's really going to be watching the TV on the 4th of July. Like, I'm Irish, I don't know how people celebrate the 4th of July, but I'm assuming that a lot of people are going to be out, like, watching the fireworks and stuff like that. So, yeah, there won't be an episode next week. So if there's any topic about Shadowhunters that you'd like me to cover in a video, let me know. I would say I would do a Q&A, but not enough people like comment and like talk to me that much for me to do a Q&A. So I'll just ask, is there a particular topic that anyone would like me to cover next week for just to fill in the gap between the break between episodes. I do plan to do an episode when the series is over about Shadowhunters' representation of mental health. I want to address the Magnus as a predator conversation that goes on, because it's not as black and white as it seems. And there are other bits and pieces that I'm planning to do after the show is over for the year, but if there's anything that you want me to talk about next week, just leave a comment, tweet me, message me, do something. Let me know and I'll pick out my favourite idea. If I get a couple of requests, I'll pick out my favourite idea, or I might try and cover like 2 ideas, since I normally do 2 ideas a week. We'll see how things pan out. So, yeah. That's it for this week, Shadowhunters, Angels, and Dark Wanderers alike. I'm sorry about my voice. There's nothing I could have done about it. I didn't want to miss an upload because, as I say, I might miss a couple of uploads in the upcoming weeks. I don't know yet. So that's it for this week, Shadowhunters, Angels, and Dark Wanderers alike. And remember, don't keep people in your closet. That raises some pretty concerning red lights.